Hi everybody, what's growing on? I'm Brian Taylor, and today I'm going to be doing a video on propagating guava trees. If you're interested in learning how to grow guava trees, you can click on the link above. That'll tell you basically how we're doing it here in Arizona. Well, my guava trees are kind of out of control right now. They're growing like weeds, and to the point where I'm going to start pruning them. I figured, well, if I'm going to be pruning these things, I might as well do a couple air layers on it just so that I can give some of these guavas to other people. This year's my 4th year with them in the ground, and they are giving me more fruit than we can handle, and it's pretty cool. So we're going to be doing this video on air layering guavas. If you want to see the end result, just subscribe, follow my channel, and click on the playlist that this video is connected to, and we will have a reveal video at the end of the month showing what it looks like after a month with the air layering process. So as we begin now with the guava air layering propagation video. Thanks. Alright, we'll start off with a list of materials that are going to be needed. So we need aluminum foil, a grafting knife or razor blade, Ziploc bags with either peat moss or cocoa coir, zip ties, and we recommend using a rooting hormone or rooting powder. That just helps give it the most opportunity for root stimulation and growth. So here on my guava tree, it's very full. So in order to get to the part where air layering, we're going to need to remove some of these extra branches and leaves. These will just get in the way and they'll slow us down, and they really won't help and will need to be trimmed off when we cut the branch off after it's rooted anyway. The good thing about this guava is there are a lot of nodes. So as you can see as I'm cutting these guys off, that they're full, and that's a good thing. It makes it so that you always have some nodes in your air layer, which is hopefully where the roots are going to start stimulating and growing from. What we're going to do at the very beginning is just point out where all the nodes are. So the nodes are going to be where either the leaves or branches are going to eventually grow from, and every tree or branch should have some of those. So the ideal is you want to have a node on top of this circle that we're going to be cutting around your bark, and a node below it, and at least one node in between. So what I'm finding with the guava is that this bark is really tough. If you compare this bark to the Barbados cherry that we did a little earlier, the same force that you'd use here on this guava would just probably cut straight through that Barbados cherry. So just note with guava you might need a little extra force. That might just be because it's in Arizona and it's really hardened off with the sun, but it also could possibly just be that that's the way guava is. So just know your strength and make sure you're not going to cut straight through, but also give enough to cut the outer layer of bark all the way through. It's at a really fun angle also. So the next step is I'm going to cut a straight line, or as straight as I can, from one side of the bark to the other. That will allow us to just have a clean line to be able to peel the bark off. But unlike any of the other air layers that we've done so far, this bark is really wanting to stay on. I did notice that when compiling this video that once the bark comes off, it's extremely white underneath. It looks like cambium layer. The other trees that I've done, you have a kind of a green inner layer of bark, but this one didn't have that at all. So it could be the reason why it's so difficult to peel off is because I am peeling it down to the cambium layer. But just to be on the safe side, I'm still going to be shaving it down a little bit further to make sure that 80 to 90% of the cambium layer will be exposed. So you can see it's a little bit of a struggle. I'm actually having to use the knife to peel it off. Part of the other reason is there was a lot of nodes, so there's a lot of almost little stumps all over the place that I've got to work around. But I do get one good chunk off here at the end, and you guys can see that it does have a little bit greener underneath. But you just look how white that is. So I am still going to scrape as much as I can. I'm only going to hit my hand once on this video. That won't cut, but you'll see me say ouch here in a second. But just like the bark, this has a really tough layer underneath. Ow! It's not as user-friendly for this process as I would have liked. And I did, with the force, kind of go higher than the original circle ring and lower than the circle ring than I wanted to, but that's okay because the part that we're putting the soil on is going to be this part in the middle that you're seeing. That's where the cambium layer is going to be exposed the most. So once I'm done shaving as much off of that as possible, go to the next step. This was fun. So now I'm grabbing the rooting hormone, and I've kind of learned to just take a generous helping, clean your knife between uses, take a generous helping and just kind of slowly tilt it on and get as much on. Now, a can of that rooting hormone, if done like perfectly, could probably do 100 of these air layers, but I could probably do 20 with the quick way that I'm doing it. It's not very expensive, so for me it's worth it just to get it over with instead of taking your sweet time. So the next step is getting your medium, which in this case is peat moss. And I take my knife and I just cut down the center of the Ziploc bag. Once I cut down the center of that Ziploc bag, I expose the soil. And trying to get positioned for this shot was a little difficult just because of where the camera is and where everything is, but able to get it on there. It's almost like I just went for full circle. So I put it on, making sure that the peat moss is touching 100% of the area that we cleaned. It is wrapped around. If that's not touching that cambium layer, you're just wasting your time. Then I'm taking these large zip ties. I like using the large zip ties because they're always long enough. You never have to do two. If you've got to wrap around and contort, it's just really easy in comparison to the smaller ones, and they're not very expensive. I think I got 100 of them on Amazon for 10 bucks. Not a bad deal. Squeeze that tight. Bottom one on. There we go. And the next step is just to cut off those zip ties just so they're not sticking out and they don't break the foil. Have some pruners from when I was pruning the branches. You can see it dripping there. There's a lot of water. Maybe that one was a little more than damp. You want to make sure that you're not going to dry out either, so I'm not worried about it being too wet. So once you secured this foil, it's pretty much done. So if you want to follow the results, subscribe to the channel, follow this playlist, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.